from the university level, but from my brain. Okay, so we're ready to go. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our weekly book study. We're in the driver's seat. Jenny Sheehan is our co-pilot, and I'll fit in either seat, the co-pilot or the pilot, but we are co-piloting this vehicle. And welcome everyone to these awesome spiritual discourses by this guy. Wouldn't you love to meet this guy? He just seems like somebody you would want to go up and give a great big hug to, and just love him. He's so clear, and we could just do that. We could just send our love to Atmananda, outside of time and space. You feel it. He feels it, and even 50 years ago, he feels it because there's no time in the experience of presence. And Jenny Sheehan, thank you for taking Joel's spot this week. And Amy Habel, thank you for taking Jenny's spot next week as we rearrange some of the participants so that we cover the slots, and that works for everyone. And I know that we're probably going to call on you at least once or twice, Jenny Beal. Thank you for being here, our house librarian and professor. That's my joke. I'm laughing at me with that. But before we opened the session, I was showing Jenny Sheehan some of the details of our Awakening Mind documentary that is being launched on Monday. So if you're in our mailing list, you'll get a link to the YouTube that you'll be invited to share it, to watch it. It's an hour and 7 minutes. It's awesome. I know you're going to love it. We've been editing this thing for months, and it's being uploaded in a final version right now. Lindsay has put together, Lindsay and Marie, and Dan Schmidt have put together the deliverables for the Indiegogo for the fundraising, and we've already begun fundraising for part 2. And you'll see on Indiegogo site that we have a cast for part 2, and the title of the part 2 is Living Presence. So we're looking forward to start filming it in July, and the early part of the fall. We'll go to Amsterdam, Italy, and UK, and we'll start filming the other cast and the other part of the documentary. I am way excited about this documentary film, and I can't wait for you all to watch it. It's been something that's been very close to our heart for 18 months now, and now it's going to be in your it's going to be in your computer, and you're going to get to watch it and share it with your friends. I know it's a mechanism that it's not specific to a tradition, and so it's going to be very easy to share it with all the traditions. And it's not religious, it is spiritual. So some of your religious friends will like it, and others will say, that's not the Bible, but it's going to be awesome. Okay, so let's get started with Discourse 141. Jenny.
Right, just to Bill, your energy and excitement about the film is palpable through the internet, and it's just totally contagious. So this is a really exciting for all of us. Yeah, thank you for your hard work for this.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone for your support and your love for truth. And this is just another thing that we're doing collectively in the awakening experience. And many of you here have supported the film financially. Thank you. And also others have supported it just with your love for truth, and others have supported it with, I sent you snippets of it and early screenings so that you could comment and give offer some of your advice. So thank you, everyone that's been part of it.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so
Yeah.
141. What do you think about this one?
Yes. Well, 141 feels a little familiar, which is nice. And it's such a stark question and answer, it's very, very direct. So 141 is mind's role in the experience of happiness. And a disciple asked, you say I get happiness when the mind comes to rest as soon as I get the object desired. But if the object is for happiness itself, how can the mind come to rest before happiness is attained?
No, but if desire is for happiness itself.
If I said that wrong, thank you for
Oh,
clarifying.
you just said object. If the object is for desire or for happiness itself. Go ahead.
Well, why don't you answer?
Well, it said the answer, the mind may be said to desire happiness, but not directly. So he's being really, really succinct. The object of its desire is always that from which it supposes it can derive happiness. Happiness can never be the object of desire. For happiness can never be objectified. Therefore, it is only when the desired object is gained that the mind comes to rest and happiness is experienced. That's so he turned the question around. The questioner said, I get happiness when the mind comes to rest. And Krishna Menon said, it is only when the desired object is gained that the mind comes to rest. So it's reversed.
Right. It's that indirect way, because happiness is purely subjective. So it can't be in an object itself. It's what we are, an aspect of our experience. But yet we can recognize that mind, as it seems to function, reaches for objects, maybe wants things, whether it's even, I'm going to weed my garden. After the weeding is complete, the mind is quiet because for a time, and it is temporary, a sense of peace about that. But that's because it's the end of seeking, right? We're becoming aware of the fact that the mind always wants this desire, wants, looking outside, looking, And so in the attainment of the object is really just the mind coming to rest. And we can experience that which is beyond object, beyond mind. Yeah.
Right. So the mind rests when happiness is realized. Right. So the mind comes to a rest, and it pauses, and it's in that moment it thinks it satisfied its desire, but really it has come to a rest because desire is fulfilled.
Right. There's that rest in the self.
Yeah.
No, the seeking has ended, the desire.
Yeah. That's sort of what happens when there's a questioner in one of the satsangs, and the teacher satisfies the mind. It comes to a rest. It rests and relaxes. It moves out of the way of the constancy of happiness. Right? Because it's just veiling what's always there.
Yes, mine can get a little off track, a little out of alignment.
Right.
It can
Right.
function, we've learned it, can go both ways, out towards object and in towards self, the vidya vritti,
Yeah.
higher reasoning. It's not a bad thing. It's just, who or what's desiring, it's consciousness itself. It's not, there could be suffering, and we get into an attachment one coming up, a discourse on attachment soon. But, if I think it's Jenny desiring, well, that's where some misidentification has occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. So I loved Paul's statement right when we opened at 12:01. He said, I meet him, Krishna Menon, each time I read him. You can feel his presence in his writings. Perfect. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Paul. And Rosalind loves the wording. And then William says, peace of being is a priority to mental functions.
Well, existing in itself before mental functions, a priori is Latin for prior to or before.
Okay. Oh, a priority. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And 142. What do you see? What do you see there?
Well, I love this, and going to use Rosalind's little technique she shared with us more than once. How to experience the truth. Hence, a guru would probably bless you like this. May you never experience the truth, because truth is experience itself. So be the truth and do not desire to experience it. The guru is always impersonal. So we're talking, the first line, this question is asked from a relative plane. And Bill, you noticed last week that the word plane came up a few times, didn't it? Relative plane versus absolute plane. We have to keep our P's and Q's straight, what we're talking about. And what a luck. May you never experience the truth, because for some of us, if there's an experience of truth, a glimpse beyond the curtain, what starts churning and wants it more? It becomes an object of seeking. Some words, the nirvikalpa samadhi, and so we to just know that experiencing itself is truth, all of it. There's no separation, is a beautiful words of wisdom from Atmananda. Truth is uncaused and can never be experienced by effort of any kind. Right? Even that glimpse we get, we might have think we meditated ourselves into it, but that's actually not true. So all that effort to that end amounts only to thinking and feeling. This is clearly within the mind's realm, and truth is well beyond it. So no amount of effort can ever take you to the truth. And remember, this is Atmananda's thing, is that it's the everyday man living everyday life in the world that not of the world can know the self, know itself, and experience the peace of that. So we don't want to put any pictures or decide that an experience of this is what it looks like, because it's going to look an infinite number of ways.
Well, there's somehow, I don't know how this works, but somehow understanding sets the mind aside or thins the veil between the personal self-identity or the mind that thought it was separate, the veil is thinned, and truth that's always here is revealed. So and I don't really know how that works. Desire seems to have a potency that sets aside the seeming separate identity, so that what's always there is experienced.
Right. And perhaps in the relative plane, we want to be vigilant of not objectifying the truth. And what Andrew mentioned, and it will come up number 147, Atmananda says the truth is always new. And we can get stuck in that thinking that it's something that it was yesterday. No, in the relative plane, absolute truth will always be expressing itself differently. We have to be open to that.
There's a question from Lily Simmons or Simons. Speaking the truth, how would you explain in this context? Speaking the truth?
I don't know if I understand, Lily, if you want to come on. But Jenny just wrote a clarification. This might help you, Lily. At an absolute level, the truth cannot be spoken. At a relative level, there is relative truth, your own experience, not influenced by any feeling to be a separate entity.
Cool.
So it's quite subjective, that experience of truth, your own experience. So we tell stories and we share stories to encouragement, but if we we don't want to say, oh, this person did this and it seemed to do that, and that may not be our the path for me or the path for you. Or
right. And Gutham, I hope I said that right, because truth is experience itself. Is it that experience referred to is synonymous to knowing or conscious? I would say yes.
Right. Experiencing is part of perceiving and sensing and knowing it in the totality. We could say an experience, and it's always here and now. It's a live action thing. And
Atmananda says truth is experience itself. So that's how we verify a direct experience it's known. It's not a concept. It's not a what somebody said. It's you know it. Yeah.
Right. That deep knowing beyond the mind, which is sometimes the word feeling is put with it.
Yeah. And then William Price says hierarchies of levels or planes are conceptual objects, and the analysis of these is digging into ignorance. The synthesis of being is entirely natural and is not sought. Right. Yes. There is. That's just, there's a little, when we're talking about levels or planes, we're just using the pointing to something that's not there, that's everywhere.
Right. Well, and it's a way of discussing where we are, where we seem to be. We can't ignore that fact. We seem to be in the world and seem to have bodies. We That's the tipping of the hat. You're exactly correct, William.
William, you're
It's
just busting our balls here.
it's all good.
Funny. Okay. 143.
Sure. From qualities to the absolute. And qualities could not subsist independent of a permanent background. So a simple word for qualities might be characteristics of something and a description of something. And number 149 even, well, we'll get to later, you know, the simple descriptions of I am happy, or, you know, I am clever. So those are qualities superimposed on an object. In the subjective realm, so talking about I, there is such a changeless, deathless, permanent principle as the background, and that is the I principle. So in that I am clever, I am happy, we're focusing on the I am part, recognizing that that quality, those adjectives, are constantly changing. They're temporary. You know, just the next paragraph, he says, well, now let's look at objects. We just talked about oneself. In the objects, it's the present of this permanent subjective background that prompts you to search for a corresponding one in the relative plane, wink, wink, in the objects that seem to be there. Examining the objective world from the standpoint of this I principle, you come to such a permanent background behind objects also. So this makes what comes to mind is that the thing in itself, you know, pure existence, that aspect of consciousness, being, pure being.
Yeah. This is the analyzer and the analyzed are seen and known as one thing.
Right, with that last beautiful statement, these two backgrounds meet and are one in reality.
Yeah.
So to think of them as separate is arbitrary, because there is only one reality. And it's what in non-duality consciousness, or in scientific terms, religious terms might use the word God. But you know, something that I kind of think it's a little old school, but was helpful to share is if reading into the Shastras and scriptures, you know, Brahman, the term Brahman comes up, and Brahman being the reality of the world, and Atman being the reality of the self. And Brahman and Atman are one. The reality of the world is same as reality of self. And that's the essence of what Atmananda was determined that every householder could learn. Let's take it out of the churches and the temples and the, you know, the high priesthoods. This is why not everyone learned this message.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was in Tiruvannamalai, oh my God, the Hindus are very strong on, you know, on going to the temples. There were people in lines waiting for 5 hours to get in to a building. Huge lines that go for blocks, 8, 10, 15 people wide and blocks long.
That's amazing. That's pretty amazing.
The basic error, 144.
Yeah, can I just add a quick something that came about 143?
Yes.
And it's very simple. That is the I principle. And that term from the very beginning of this book comes up, the I principle. And, to think of it simply as the I is principles rather than the body, mind, world thing. And the principles are right there that mentioned in that paragraph: changeless, deathless, permanent. And so it's almost asking, so the I that I think I am, which is often body mind identification, it's just saying, try knowing yourself as these principles. What is changeless? What is deathless? And Bill, you said it. It's by opening the mind and being willing to try to live life on life's terms with these principles being that which is absolute. Then it starts to come alive. Just the I principle. Principles of what? Well, the principles of truth, what we are learning from Atmananda. And of course, they're concepts. We have to nod to that, but we find that in the surrender to these concepts, the direct experience makes them real and true.
Something is alive, or that is truth itself resonates with these ideas, with these statements, and it just says, yes, I know that's true. And that is inviting the direct experience to be itself and realize at the same time. It's astonishing. And that's what happens even during this time together. As we read these ideas, they somehow become alive in each of us.
Awesome.
Thank you for adding that. I think that's what you just added is important and brilliant. Thank you.
You want to read 144? It's a drop the mic kind of.
Basic error. Yeah, the basic error is the false identification of the I principle with the body, senses, or mind, each at a different time. This is the pivot around which our worldly life revolves. And that is every time we say I, and then we follow it with I want this, I hate you, I love you, I this, I that. It's all that false identification.
Yet it's the pivot around which our worldly life revolves. Who's misidentifying? It's not Bill. It's consciousness itself. And
Right.
we could see the world would end if the misidentification stopped. Because I don't know, I'm speaking for myself, but I've had a sense of, I do just want to go in a cage and think about God all day long, And it's like, wait, but it needs us in the world, but not of the world. Saying, no, I can be happy living life with people in a crazy society, and not be in a cave and know the peace that passeth understanding. So it's just the misidentification is if I blame myself, like, oh gosh, I forgot, I'm bleeding, I'm believing I'm a body now. It's like, no, it's all just it's consciousness itself having the experience.
We can get lost in that. The like right now we're very attentive to these the truth. It's easy to be lost in completely in the hypnosis of the personal self-identity.
Yes, I just think of Don Hoffman's work, which we've talked about him a few times. You know, he's has written a book and recently had a talk with Rupert Spira. But you know, perception serves fitness, serves the continuation of humanity, and without the perception that we have, fitness may not occur, procreation may not occur, because knowing reality is the end of desires, the end of attachments. You know, it actually is. If everyone woke up to the truth all at once, the world would
be over.
Yeah,
I
mean,
okay, we're finished.
Right, we can
That's funny.
see it's consciousness having this experience. It's all playing out as it wants, and that's a superimposition, to use the description of want, because that's making it seem human or like a mind or something, and of course it's not. But we just have to remember, because there can be a tendency to beat oneself up when we catch ourselves. Remember, only I know when a behavior or action is in ignorance. Most of the time, it's very spontaneous and it just happens. And then that's, if I haven't thought about it, it's fresh and new. Truth is always new, not absolute truth, the way absolute truth is reflected through the world. It's one, right? They're talking back and forth. They're interfacing. So we just have to catch ourselves, you know, not to beat myself up that I couldn't fall asleep last night because a window is going to fall out of my house, you know. It's like, remember to laugh.
Yeah. Getting lost in a hall of mirrors is always a risk. Imagined possibilities are entertaining. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So 145?
Sure. So this seems a little familiar too, which is nice. Knowing and functions of sense organs and mind. So the functions of the sense organs, so then we're talking about seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. And the functions of the mind take place only one at a time and always have a beginning and an end. And we can recognize this for thoughts. We're not aware of two thoughts at a time. And of course, the taste of chocolate, a beginning and an end, but there is always knowing. And it has neither a beginning nor an end. So it's no function at all. It's an aspect of consciousness, the knowing presence. Bill, to quote you, what you said earlier, it's that knowing presence of consciousness that we experience. So knowledge exists without objects. Therefore, it has neither a beginning nor the end, because that knowing presence is continuous. The objects, the functioning comes in, it's within it and of it, an expression itself of consciousness, but they have a beginning and then they subside back into being. And what is aware of it? That activity.
Yeah.
That which we are.
Yeah. He says, but knowledge exists without objects. Therefore, it has neither a beginning nor an end. Knowing exists as awareness.
And Francis Lucille does a nice description we can think of factual knowing, kind of the activity of mind, what it can do, but we're not talking about that. It's when the mind comes to the end and it goes into that deeper understanding, that's the true knowing, the deep knowing beyond the mind.
So we have a question for the doctor. What about the brain?
What about the brain? Yes. Well, the body is, if Paul says it's an organ, it is an organ. It's clearly an aspect of the physical component of our existence. We have physical, mental, emotional, and the brain is a big part of the unconscious running of the body. I mean, I may remember to eat and drink and use the restroom, but there's heart beating and breath taking and digestion happening all without me having a thought of it. And of course, this is consciousness itself, right? Expressing itself as this life form, this human life form.
Mm-hmm.
And we can seem to point to by blood flow in the brain, or we can measure electrical activity of the brain and make correlations. Like, oh, it seems to look like this when one is sleeping. Seems to look like that when one is, thinking about painting. But really, there's no neural correlate of consciousness. And the looking for that in a brain is subscribing to that matter is primary. There's a particulate form of matter, and that's primary. And the experiences, the subjective experiences that we have, like taste, like seeing, like touching, there is nothing in the brain that can explain those things. And Don Hoffman's work is exquisitely has been able to prove this. So the experiencing, the purely subjective I am experience, because what an apple tastes like to me may be different than what an apple tastes like for you. Somehow that's out of consciousness. Now the brain has to do with the functioning of the physical body, and if things happen to the brain, that will change aspects of our physically functioning body. That we can see a direct correlation with that. But as far as our life experience, the brain only acts as a filter. And Don Hoffman, I don't know if you agree with me or not, this is my opinion, but the brain acts as a filter on consciousness, focuses it down in order to perpetuate humanity.
I mean, that sounds, I mean, you're the doctor. I wanted to hear the doctor explanation, and I thought it was awesome. Thank you for that. And Jenny adds to that, the brain is just a model to explain the activity of mind and body. It is not ultimate reality. And Don Hoffman would call it an interface, or Bernardo Kastrup would
dashboard,
call it more of a dashboard experience. So it's still just an element of the body mind experience that's just it's a tool within within the construct of the thing that is always changing. So and that's why our focus in these matters and these teachings is to keep our attention on that which is changeless, that which is infinite, that which we are as an I, prior to giving it the we, because there's really no we.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
A filter, Amy Habel, a filter or a receiver, a tuner, a possible station consciousness can tune to. Yeah, all of those. It's an antenna. You could say it sending signals out or
Well, the
whatever.
brain appears in consciousness, not the reverse.
Yes. Yes,
If it does anything, it would filter out reality.
exactly. It
It
does.
focuses on perception in the physical aspect of our being,
Yeah.
or physical aspect of experience.
Yeah, right. And it's relative to, if you listen to Don Hoffman, it's designed for survival. It was never designed to know truth.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Humanity would be really different without it.
It
Yeah.
probably will be different in 100 years, 500 years. It's going to be different. I mean, it's going to be different on a human level, but it's also going to be different on a consciousness level. And of course, we're talking about sequential time. So we're just talking about the relative. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful perspective.
I like 146. You want to move on to that?
Sure. Yeah.
This might be the most popular email that we get at the Teachers of God Foundation. How can I get past the attachments? How can I stay in alignment? How can I remember the truth? All of these things.
Yes. And I just wanted to point out way back from the beginning, Discourses number 29 and 32 also talk exactly about this again too. So I'll read then. Even when you say you are attached, you're really detached. From the height of happiness or the misery in one state, you pass into its opposite in another state in the course of a few moments, and vice versa. Right? Those qualities of experience that can change on a dime, the flip side of coins, we might think of it like that. And then soon after, you pass into deep sleep, divorced of all ideas of body, senses, and mind. So just in that, Atmananda is letting us know you're not attached. It's maybe only the false belief that you think you are, because you're constantly detaching just naturally. And it happens when we go to sleep every night, or, whatever your sleep pattern tends to be.
Yeah. So I really like that statement, and it gives all of us a permission to realize that we're not attached. Nobody here. You might think you're attached. You're not. And what you just read just proves it.
And the last paragraph of the last line of the second paragraph, what we are is that background upon which the attachments seem to come and go. And that proves this is your real nature. You are not attached. Know it and take note of it. That's all that's needed. The noticing of the attachment. Take that line of thinking and you will find that this mistaken notion of attachment will leave you very soon. And that's just a beautiful practice. If there's a practice, if there's something to do as Teacher of God's Foundation and Pure Presence, you speak from the mountaintops, the light heals itself. It's in the awareness of those things we seem to be attached to that healing takes place. If that's even we got to watch that, right, William? Like good and bad and all, we got to watch that. It's all good. It's all just happening. And, just to notice it, what it brings up and what it would be the experience of not peace. it's disturbing,
Well, I
maybe
like
there's
where he says,
attachment there.
yeah, this is just a very simple uh, kind of a suggestion. Know it and take note of it, and passing clouds.
Right. Try it. Open your mind, give it a try, and see what happens. Know for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Truth is always new. 147.
Oh gosh, wow. Yes, this one I'll say really spoke to me, and William, so truth is always new, and Andrew pointed that out. I love that wink, noticing like, wait, this comes up in 147. So we're not talking about quote unquote absolute truth. We're not talking about these principles upon which we decide or decide to be the foundation of our operating system, and the principle of non-duality, and the aspects that we mentioned in the other ones, changeless, deathless, permanent, ever present, we these principles things, and the simple non-dual understanding that both the subjective and objective worlds, when properly analyzed, are resolved into the ultimate pure consciousness, which is neither subject nor object. That's from number 71, Atmananda. And if you really want to blow your mind, read the intro again to volume 1 of the Discourses. Be like, oh my gosh, this is so much clearer to me now. So we're talking about truth is always new in the relative plane. The expression of truth is infinite. And we assign the meaning, we assign the label we give to anything. But truth is expressing itself, pure consciousness, as itself in the world, through body, through mind, through this existence. So this is and that is always new. It's live action. It's dynamic. It's happening now. It's unknown. I saw that word in the chat. It's fresh. And so we must be open to that, and not, we got to watch our habits and our rituals and how safe we feel in our, our little caves and our little houses, because that's safety premised on the past, when truth is always new and fresh. So yeah. The method of direct approach, Advaita, to the truth, Vedanta. So it's Vakara Marga, or we could say the path of discrimination, the path of reason, the Jhayanan path. This is what Atmananda, Shankara got a little stuck by the Shastras and the old scriptures and the secretness of it all. And Atmananda just blew it out of the water. Apparently people were ready for it. So the method of direct approach to the truth is found only very rarely, even in the higher Indian scriptures, the Shastras. And that again, as mere assertions only and seldom elaborated upon. And read Discourse 473 if you want a little more about that. Hence, truth has always its virgin novelty. This will be through teachers. This is the expression of absolute truth into our relative body, minds, human interacting. So expressed through teachers, expressed through our thoughts, expressed through our behaviors. It's going to be new and fresh. And what I remembered was number 36. Realization is is only here and now. And what does that mean? It's only here and now. It's live. I just wanted to point out one other thing, and this is the gorgeous of this these beautiful books is there's a glossary in the end of volume 3, there's an index in the end of volume 3, and I did just cross-reference a little bit because I wanted to understand what he meant by that statement. And I would just like to read a little from 739, which is in the second book. And the question is, what is the difference between yoga and vikara, which is the path of jnana, the path of reason, the path of discrimination? Vikara is concentration without giving up variety. Vikara makes you catch the right perspective to see the truth as it is. You are not asked to do anything new. Only take note, see that everything is perfect and that you are there behind all. As Shri Ashtavakra, the ancient sage, sings. So this is from the Ashtavakra Gita, chapter 5, section 4. You are that being which is perfect, just the same in pain and joy, the same in hope and in despair, the same in living as in dying. Only thus, as perfect being, may you come to be dissolved. And then this last statement takes us, right back to 142. You are not asked to be the same in both, but you are only shows that you are the same in both. So that passage from the Ashtavakra, we're talking about flip sides of a coin. If there's a good, there's a bad. If there's pain, there's joy, and what we are is beyond those opposite sides of the coin. And to be aware, an error can be made that I, as a spiritual person, always looks like this, always looks like that. If this behavior or action happens, it means is bad or not spiritual, not love. Remember, only I know if something is coming out of ignorance. That no one even can tell me, and I can't judge for anyone else, but I can assess. A little white flag might pop up. Oh, that was interesting. I just dropped to the floor and covered my head in my hands. What was that? Frustrated at one of my daughters. It was absolutely spontaneous. There was no pre-thought. It wasn't based on the way I had behaved in the past. It just something that happened. So somehow truth is expressing itself through this body mind in that moment. And that is what is always new and fresh. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to lose the variety of life. It's beautiful and amazing, So sorry, that was a lot, but I just got stoked about it.
Well spoken. I loved how you just really brought a deep clarity to that and example even. I thought that was beautiful and helpful. Thank you.
Well, this is the amazing work that Atmananda did, and just reading the intro again, he said, the Shastras, we could just say, those are the 14 to 18 books of Hindi tradition, perennial, millennial, ancient. I guess an equivalent sort of might be the Bible and the Christian thing, where you could see to take it as dogma and people getting stuck and taking it literally. And Shankara, that's what I think it's 473. He was unable. He had a taste of this truth, but the audience wasn't ready. And Atmananda was like, boom, let's go. if Brahma and Atman are one, there's no separation, it's one, then we cannot judge what it looks like in form. Cannot judge what it looks like in form. And the reason why this matters is because those ACIM principles of forgiveness and acceptance, we just lose any capability of judging. Rupert Spira, says, we're not required to like everyone and everything, but we are required to love it. And what is love? We're talking unconditional acceptance. It's not the love of the Hallmark store or what movies show us. We're talking about unconditional acceptance. And that means everything, everyone, everywhere, every time. And we have a responsibility as those that know better. Yeah. What are politics doing? Pointing fingers at each other when what we are is beyond it, and catch ourselves in those things. That was just a little example. But,
yeah. And you're right. You're right.
And the whole thing, does vegan Gangaji, she's so open, this concept, you got to be a vegan, can't eat meat. Is that true? It depends on your body. Everyone's different. It expresses itself. So this, she said she got really sick binding herself to that spiritual concept that you don't kill plants. It doesn't matter. You have to listen to your own body, what resonates as true for this experience. And that's what it always is. And that's the danger in sharing our stories, because we might be like, oh, wait, my story is different, but I want to be like her, so I better change my story to look like, and it's like, no, consciousness is you, like authentically, lovingly, beautifully you, as you are. With all of it. It's
including the judgment.
Including the judgment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's learning to allow everything to be exactly as it is.
Yeah.
And Amy wrote, all things are echoes of the voice for God. All things are echoes for as consciousness, as presence, all things. Everything is this one presence.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the mind is so powerful. We give everything the meaning that it has. We assign interpretation. We label, who's doing that? What reality is wordless, formless. What actually exists is not even what we perceive. So we just always have to be open and aware of that. Bill, what came about, the principles, the I principles. Well, my God, just in the Course of Miracles, the section 4 in Manual for Teachers, the characteristics, those are pretty good principles upon which to decide to, ground oneself in. Honesty, generosity, joy, tolerance, patience, open-mindedness, go on and on. But,
as long as someone doesn't take those and use them to judge others by them.
No,
yeah.
There's only one judge, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's keep going with 148. Man's hunt after happiness.
This is adorable. You read. I've been talking too much.
I put a big smile face with 2 eyeballs on this one. This is good. Man hunting for happiness is just like a beetle with a drop of butter on its head, getting a scent of the butter. The beetle hovers around, knocking about everywhere for the source of the scent, but it is ignorant of the fact that the butter is on its own head. Here we are. Likewise, man or woman, you hunt for happiness because it is in in herself or himself. It is you, and you are not able to see where it is. But the urge which makes him hunt or her hunt comes from happiness itself.
So we even see there's nothing wrong with the seeking.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the attachment. It's all going in a direction. Otherwise, we could literally, and I have spent a lot of time sitting absolutely still with the abject lack of desire and attachment. It's very, very quiet. Not much happening. But if the world needs to go around, right, we're going to have these little things. It's happiness calling itself, pulling it into a direction that activity, energy needs to, flow.
So the use of the idea of seeking, like almost like we did a conference, the End of Seeking conference, it's the end of seeking what you think you don't have. So the seeking continues. This experience right here, you could say seekers are involved in this, and it's really those that are interested in the ideas, the truth that's beyond the human experience, that is our true nature, that points to the essence of I am.
Well, it's in charge. And
Yeah.
the basic errors and misidentification, I think Jenny is,
Exactly.
or I
Yeah.
am,
It's totally in charge. It's running everything. We just learn in these discourses and other teachings, we learn how to relax into the experience and not be so not be worried about it, not be frustrated when it doesn't go our way. We learn how to relax into the experience. And then it's a much better experience, allowing it to lead the way.
Well, it's more peaceful. Better is a judgment. It's a joyful, peaceful experience, which of course is better. I was just like, we don't want to.
I like what Dave Adams said. Suffering can be our friend if we use it as a pointer that we are still investing our happiness in objective experience and to remember the I am. Yeah, that's cool. That's it. That says
so
everything.
Succinct. Yes.
Boom.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, let's look at 149.
Yes, and this was covered a lot in 143. I am, so that's in quotes, that phrase, that expression, I am, to the ignorant man versus the sage. We all say, I am clever, I am happy, and so on. In this, the layman ignores the vital part, I am, and emphasizes the rest. So ignoring the subject aspect, I, and focuses on the object part, the quality. But the I am alone is important for the sage, and he ignores the rest. Right? So just saying as that pure subject, that allowing unconditionally everything. And of course, Bill, what you mentioned about the attachment, number 146, there seems to be, after a glimpse, an unveiling and a knowing of our true identity, there does seem to be an establishing of oneself in the self, as the self, in truth, as the truth. And so a sage is one who is possibly beyond that. Although it's always coming up.
It's subtle. It's another subtle identity.
Yeah.
That is stepping up and saying, I'm having that experience.
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to read too, because this is so fun. discourse number 604, Atmananda says, be unqualified and you are free. Resting as the I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was 604?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one.
It's
I
just,
like it.
it just kind of be a nice bumper sticker, you know?
Yeah. Now let's look at the last one, 150. Are we doing 150? I think we are.
Yes, we are. Yeah, it made me think of just the first line, Atma is beyond both the presence and the absence of objects, and made me think of that Jean Klein expression, you know, the absence of absence. Do you mind to read a little, Bill? Or
Thoughts, feelings, etc., are like pictures on the wall of Atma. Their presence and absence must both vanish if you want to see the background of Atma in its reality. There is no container in you to hold a series of past thoughts or subtle objects in readiness for any future remembrance. Thought can have neither a gross object nor a subtle object. So it is objectless and hence pure consciousness itself. Vedanta wants to go into the heart of everything, and it is never satisfied with mere names.
yeah, that you know, we think of that. Rupert Spira has the analogy of that. You know, the screen is what an analogy is. Think the screen is what we are, and the images change. And Francis Lucille said, like the pictures might change that are hung on a wall, but you know, the wall is, you know, ever present. And you know, Vedanta is that simple, relentless, deep inquiry into the nature of truth. So truth itself wants to go into the heart of everything and is never satisfied with mere names. It always wants to look beyond the labels, beyond the situation, beyond the relationship. And
Well, it's unconditional, it's total acceptance of everything that occurs. Yeah. There's a statement that Rosalind makes at 106. Do you think, or a question, do you think the list of admirable qualities from ACIM, admirable qualities from ACIM will likely bring up the opposite polarity as then relative world tends to be? You just read live.
Live is the unqualified as I was writing this. So that list was a list of qualifications. I missed a he. I wrote he. I said, do you think the list of admirable qualities from ACIM will likely bring up the opposite polarity as the tends to be? And then you just read live as the unqualified as I was writing it.
Yeah.
That was like the answer to my query.
That is the question, the answer. Yeah.
but Rosalind, thank you. Right. I made that, you know, what came up for me in just a thought. And it's, of course, if you read that section manual for teachers, it's just a suggestion. It's not a 10 commandments. It's a suggestion. And so absolute truth is going to shine. There's going to be consistency in how it shines through the world as the world. And those are exactly, we can't use them as commandments and how I have to be. But as if we look at them as principles, I'm interested in living under, you know, a principle of patience. How, you know, what does that unfold for me? So yes, pointing, but exactly no dogma. Yeah, thank you for.
And I think the course means for the opposite to come up. I think it means to show us everything that's not that, so that you see both polarities. You're going for love and you see judgment. And I think that that's what the mind training in a course is. Its goal is to show you both.
Yeah. And it's a progressive, it's a different kind of teaching, really, a different kind of pointing. It's not an absolute.
Well, it takes us where we start years ago for
Yeah.
most of us, and it helps us along the way so that we can see everything that's not love, and then we're ready for this.
Yeah.
To
And
be-
also, Jenny, you mentioned these are suggestions, not commandments. I have a sense that the 10 Commandments were suggestions, and they became commandments by Moses and Aaron, his brother, and all that whole. But if you just took the transmission as it came in, I feel those were suggestions. Consciousness was giving itself in Moses, and he put hellfire and brimstone on it. I think it's the same.
And we have to remember it's all consciousness. So one isn't better. We always want to make one better. It's just almost instinctive.
Yeah.
One feels better. I don't even know if that's just the teaching. What if we weren't taught that was better? We would just be just like you fell to the floor and it just happened.
Well,
Yeah.
even in the little, there's something that doesn't want, there seems to be something that, this aspect of consciousness that is ignorant of itself, of its true nature, whatever it is that's happening. I'm just using words. But I can be judgmental and say, oh, that person murdered a person or raped a person and they're bad. But how many insects have I stepped on? How many plants have I pulled up? I mean, how is it? Oh no, it's very different. Is it? I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
How do we know these things? And of course, for a society and for getting along and for these things, we have laws, and Atmananda even says we respect them. You pay Caesar what you owe Caesar. But we just have to be real, because it's all about me. I can't go judging somebody when I myself, I don't know how many insects I've killed without knowing it,
Yeah, and when we step into the unqualified, it doesn't feel better or worse. It's just in the being. So just having that experience, like you said, we have to be very careful and watch ourselves that we don't step into dogma. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Rosalind, and thank you, Jenny, and everyone for your comments, participation. And we have one more comment from Jenny Beal. A sage is not a person. There is only one sage. When the truth is present, the sage is present.
Oh, I like that
There it is.
clarification.
Bam.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you all for being here. And it's been a great group of discourses. I'm sure next week is going to be equal to this. Amy Habel will be our co-host, and Jenny, you were awesome. Thank you for that. Awesome. You really did a deeper connection to the other content, the other material. It was awesome. Yeah. And don't forget, everyone, if you're not on our mailing list, please get on our mailing list. Go to teachersofgod.org or billfree.com and sign up and get an email on Monday morning with the share link for the YouTube documentary, Know Thyself. Share it with your friends and audience. It's going to go ballistic. And I'm looking forward to it. And thank you all for being here. We'll see you on for whatever. We'll see you for the next time we're together.
And Bill, thanks for holding this space for us. Thank you.
Well, it is my joy to do what we all do. And I get to do it. You know, I just turned 69, so I'm in those retirement, do they call them the golden years or whatever? I'm loving this bodysuit in these years, and to be able to express the truth and have this big truth family around the world that I get to connect with. Oh my God, this is life. All right. Thank you all. And I'll see you later.